Hello. Welcome to Traveling Through Life, a podcast on the go. I'm your host, Tara, and the founder of the blog Travel with TMec, which is where you'll find free destination guides, points and miles consulting for Canadians, a little bit of van life, and much more. Traveling Through Life, a podcast on the go. It's a fun and quirky show. We delve into everything travel and adventure, whether from the road, in the air, or in between here and there. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen or watch. We're on YouTube as well. And leave a 5-star review or a thumbs up. These two things make a huge difference in helping the show reach a wider audience. So thank you for your support. In season 2, my guests and I cover a wide range of travel topics. And it's my hope that you'll hear yourself reflected in these guests' stories. And maybe that you'll hear the way somebody else travels and think, oh, maybe I'll give that a go the next time I'm out in the world. This week on Traveling Through Life, a podcast on the go, I chat with my friend Chloe. Chloe and I met in a hostel on one of my first nights in Dublin when I moved there. We promptly learned our first lesson in Irishisms before heading out in Ireland's capital. Chloe is a dancing machine. She's a master of cozy spaces. She's a world traveler and has lived on 3 continents. And now she's a mom of 2 young girls and works with children with autism. On the episode, we talk about everything from the shocking difference between Canadian and Danish student accommodation, cross-continent road trips as a kid, going on 2 exchanges to countries that she didn't pick, learning Portuguese, moving her young family to Belgium for a year, completing a master's at Trinity College in Dublin, and identifying more as a Canadian when abroad than when at home. She also talks about how much she misses Tim Hortons when she's away, even though she doesn't think the coffee is good. All right. Thanks for listening, and let's dive in. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest. This guest I met, I think it was night 2 of Dublin, which is a big deal because we've been friends ever since then, and that was like 13 years ago. Her name is Chloe Scott. She is a world traveler extraordinaire. She has lived in several countries. She's traveled all over the place with her family growing up as a solo female in her 20s, and now with her family living abroad. So, Chloe, welcome to Traveling Through Life, a podcast on the go.
Thank you so much. So good to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's been too long. And I feel like I have to start this by saying I'm so sorry I haven't come to visit you in Europe. I'm so sad that it hasn't worked out. We talked about this so much beforehand, and yeah, I don't know. Life.
I know.
But
Life happens. Yeah.
seriously, and I get jealous every time I see people go. I'm like, I need to book the flight. I need to go visit Chloe and her family. But I will see you back in Canada very soon. What, a
Yes.
few weeks you'll be home?
Yeah. So we leave July 8th. So yeah, it's like 3 weeks away. We've
Holy
got to get
Moses.
ourselves in gear and start packing
That,
soon. Yeah. Yeah.
that's wild. Like, that's flown
I
for
know.
me, and I'm not the one who's had the experience. I can't
I
imagine how
know.
quick it's gone for you.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
Crazy.
We just sort of had the last of our visitors come, and then now we're like, all right, we need to make some moves
Yeah, we
here
need to
to
go.
start getting ready. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell all of the lovely listeners who you are, what you do, and where you're calling in from today?
Belgium. So 6-hour time difference to Canada right now. And yeah, me and Tara met in Ireland quite a few years ago now. I was thinking back, like it just everything feels like a couple years ago, right? And really, it was like,
It really
was
does.
it 13?
It's 13 years ago. We
That
met in
sounds wild.
2012. It doesn't make sense to me.
I'm
I
like,
don't
but
feel
wait,
that old.
we're still so young. How could it be 13 years ago?
Yep.
um, yeah, so I'm, happy to kind of talk on some of my experiences living abroad as exchange. I was a Rotary exchange student, an exchange student in my undergrad, a master's student, and then now as a family, those are kind of all the bits and pieces of me living abroad and all very different experiences. So happy to talk a little bit about some of them.
Yeah, traveling through life as it
Yeah,
goes.
yeah.
So I know your parents. Your parents are amazing, but where did the travel bug come from for you? Was it because of them and like early living scenarios and whatnot? Can you speak to that at all?
I think probably. So when I was when I was a baby. We lived in the Northwest Territories in Canada, so I think that was like, I think my first flight was at 3 weeks old. Like my parents flew to Niagara to, to have me around family, and then they flew back home. But we've always, even if it wasn't like international trips, we've always taken lots of road trips, and kind of like always been going places. And my mom's parents, actually, it's sort of this feels a bit full circle. My mom's parents lived in Brussels for close to a year when I was, actually, I don't even know if I was born yet, but that's sort of like a funny little, just like, coincidental thing. So
That's so cool.
they definitely had that traveling bug too, like, where a lot of, snowbirds kind of go to the States. They would often come to France, and come to Europe, rather,
Casual.
like that would be more, so they would like rent an apartment for a couple months, and do the Europe thing, rather than sort of heading to the sun of Florida, sort of
Yeah.
traveling. So I think that's, definitely my grandma and grandpa had played a part
I
in that
had no
too.
idea. That's so
Yeah.
cool. That is a very full circle kind of moment.
Yeah, yeah, sort of coincidental, and it just feels like, yeah, sort of
Yeah.
living through them.
That's so sweet. We'll have to interview the girls when they're our age,
Yeah.
and see if they're living in Brussels as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too cool. Do you remember your, first trip as a family? Like, I know you went on the flights at 3 weeks and whatnot, but do you remember, like, a trip that you guys took growing up at all, and that really sticks with you?
I think, I mean, there was a lot of road trips. My dad's family's from Quebec, so there was a lot of 8-hour road trips to Quebec every year. But sort of I guess the big one is my dad worked. He did a contract in California, and so he was already out there. And then like my mom and me and my brother and my aunts drove out to California. So that was like, sort of like stopping in weird places and like little roadside motels, and um that's one thing I sort of remember being there, and like remember kind of where we stayed in the pool, and like certain things about that trip that sort of, I think those are some like early memories anyways.
I can only imagine how fun that would be, knowing how much of a good time your aunts and your mom are, and just, like, the dynamic must have been
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was
That's so
fun.
cool. Okay, so lots of road trips throughout North America. You did you go camping as a kid as well? You went camping, no?
Yeah, yeah, we would like go to, like where my parents live now. There's like McGregor Park, those kinds of things. Yeah, so we definitely, like, I'd say my parents, especially my dad, is like pretty outdoorsy. um
Yeah.
so definitely did a lot of hiking and those kinds of trips. And then we grew up in Niagara, so the escarpment there, like, did, lots of things, outdoorsy
Beautiful
things
outdoors
around
thing.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the nature. Very cool. Do you think that, the road trips and the travel experiences as a family growing up impacted your decision to then move abroad in what was high school for the first time, or was it elementary school?
It was right after high school. So like after I graduated grade 12, I sort of like wasn't sure, what I wanted to do in university. And so I applied for the like a Rotary exchange. So Rotary International, they're all over the world. I didn't know that much about it really. But I applied, and then they pick where you go. So you sort of like put some ranking. I think I probably put places that speak French because I had learned some French in school. I did not get that. I got Brazil, but it was a great experience. So I was in Brazil for a year. Obviously, didn't speak any Portuguese when I left, but that was an amazing experience. So you live with different host families, so you're really immersed in the culture. In the
Yeah.
living with local families. So that was a big experience. I came from quite a small town, so um, that was
Any
like
any shout out
pretty
to small town
eye-opening.
Ontario?
Grimsby.
I'm sure we'll have a few listeners from there.
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
wherever I go, people like somehow know someone from Grimsby, and it's like that's such a little town, but it's one you have to drive through it to get to Niagara Falls. And so everyone's like, Grimsby, I've heard of that. It's like sort of the last, like, coffee stop, like, before you get to Niagara. But it was a really nice place to grow up. So Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Brazil for a year after you finished high school, and you lived
Mhm.
with how many different host families?
With 3 different host families. So kind of
Cool. And were they in different regions or was it all in the same
no,
area?
all the same area. So you sort of, you have, the same connections. Like you sort of meet them ahead of time. They're all part of the like Rotary program, so you know who you're going to be going to next. And then same thing, like you make friends, and like so you're not being shipped around to different areas, which is nice because you sort of like your friends, stay throughout the whole year. So other exchange student friends or just your the Rotary is considered like a cultural exchange, but you do go to school. So, like I lived with a host sister and then went to like, I had just finished high school, but I went to like the second half of their high school year because the years are different. And then graduated again in Brazil. And then did like the high school there had like also like a technical college kind of thing.
Okay.
And so then I did like half a year. Um, but it was like in Portuguese. So, you know, I usually they just sort of expect you to go to class. I did some sort of computer class, me and the other exchange students. So really, it wasn't about the academics. It was about just trying to learn the language and just to be, for the
Yeah,
cultural piece. Yeah, it's very cool though.
definitely. That's and to go without knowing, like without having a say in where you're moving to for the first
Mm,
time,
mm-hmm.
as what you were 18 at the time, like
Yeah,
17, 18.
yeah,
That's such a leap of faith. But how did you like, I don't know. I wanted to do exchanges growing up, but I always had
yeah.
FOMO about leaving or, something that in my head kept me back. What like was in you to be like, "No, I'm doing this. This is
I
gonna be
know.
fantastic."
Looking back now, I'm like, I can't believe like I was like in I mean, a small town for Brazil. It was like 80,000. Like, it was a lot, still quite quite a few people. But um, just like looking back now, like I like things are so different now with the internet, with technology. But back then,
Yeah.
like you were just like, I had my like paper itinerary. Like I'm on like a couple flights to get there, like as a 17-year-old, and like you're just like, okay, there's a family that's gonna meet me with a sign like with my name on it at the airport. And like I didn't speak Portuguese, but my host family was so lovely. The first host family that
Yeah.
they like at the airport there was like 15 people that came and they all had like my picture and like
Oh,
they brought the whole family to meet me and like there was three like kids in the house. So like one my age that was like the same school as me, and then two younger. And they were just like so welcoming. When I got to the house, they had like labeled everything in Portuguese. Like on the door, it said like like it said door, like the table said la mesa. It said
yeah.
so just to help me like learn Portuguese and even like yeah, like connecting with my family, like I had to have like calling cards and like where you had to like put in like 75 numbers to like get that through back to Canada. My parents had to like put money on it kind of thing. Like it
Yeah.
just I mean, I feel like I'm aging myself, but like yeah, it was a very different different time than now. Like, but it was an amazing
Yes.
experience. I highly recommend.
That's so cool. How thoughtful
Yeah,
of them to do all of that. I mean, to have everybody at the airport, number 1, what a
I know.
welcoming. And
I
then
know.
the, like, little touches at the house and whatnot as well. That's really neat.
Yeah, they
What
were very
what
sweet.
was the application process like for anybody who's considering I'm assuming Rotary still does these kinds of exchanges.
hmm
Um,
hmm
did you have to be, like, a part of it, or could anybody in the community apply,
Yep,
or
anybody could apply. I think it works a little bit different in each countries, but like my parents weren't Rotarians. I think there was some sort of pamphlet at like my guidance counselor office or something. So it was just yeah, you sign up, and then I think there was like some interviews and things. Like I think not everybody gets to go, but they had making sure that you're sort of able to be a little bit independent, and that families are going to welcome you and you're going to be respectful of people's cultures and homes and things like that. But yeah, certainly there was no like language criteria or anything like that. It was just yeah, like I think you just sort of have. I think the interview was probably a little bit about like being respectful, adapting to new cultures. How would you do this or that? But yeah, you sort of go through a process, and then even before you leave, there's a big they have these like these like meetups. So our district in Niagara was called the Best of Friends district. It was part in the part in Canada and part in the States actually, like
Okay.
all kind of Niagara area. And so they would have meetups where all the outgoing exchange students come. So like everyone that's about to go on their year abroad, and then all the incoming exchange students. So everyone that's already from different countries. And so like once a month they did a big meetup in Niagara on the Lake, and all they had like a whole weekend where we did like bike riding and things like that. But
Wow.
so like I got to meet all the Brazilian exchange students that were in Canada, and they would sort of tell you about their
Whoa.
things that are upcoming. And so that was really nice, and like I met a lot of friends that way, and some of them even I saw when I eventually went back to Brazil. Like they were
Oh.
in different cities, but that was really really nice. And so that they sort of prepare you for life abroad, and yeah, we did. I think we did a camping trip to Temagami with all the exchange students, which was
Oh,
really cool. Like in
wow.
the winter, like we did like you know.
You
So
did
there was
winter
yeah, it was
camping?
yeah, like winter, like, and we did like dog sledding, and like so I can imagine all the people, like some of them, coming from Brazil or coming from hot countries. So it's really like, you're sort of out of your element. And yeah, they do lots of like they have you like write a letter to yourself that they mail to you in a year, all about like your upcoming
Oh,
year. So it's real they do a really good job of preparing, as best they can for, kind of
that's
coming
so
what's
cool.
coming up, and homesickness, or like things like that. They talk about all that before you go.
Yeah. I feel like I know the answer to this, but being a mom of 2 little girls now, do you think you'll want your kids to do something like that when they're older?
Yeah, I would love them. I
Yeah.
mean, I say that now, but then I'm like, I was a little, got into some trouble when I was, like did things I wasn't supposed to. Like, it's like the rules of an exchange, like before they go, they're like, don't drink, don't date, don't drive, don't do all these things. It's like, you're like, okay,
Did all of
did I
those.
follow all of those? Um, but no, like I think it's fairly safe. You're with families, right? So they treat you like one of their kids, right? Like you're like, can I go to this
Yeah.
party? And they can say no, right? Like it's different than sort of being abroad just on your own, right? You are sort of like in the household, you know.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like it's pretty safe in terms of not being
So cool.
you're not just out on your own devices finding finding a place to live,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, like we did
Yeah.
in Ireland.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a whole other ball of wax. Very different kind of travel experience.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into Ireland then. So, was there anywhere that you lived or traveled much in between? I'm assuming yes, but in between your time in Brazil and then when we met in Ireland?
Yeah, so Copenhagen. So in my
Oh, right.
after Brazil, I went to university, and then in my third year, I did an exchange again, like through the university. I went to Western in London. Shout out.
Yeah.
And so the third year, I did the same thing where I applied to go abroad, and then similarly, they choose where you go. I think you probably do some rankings, but they selected Copenhagen for me.
Yeah.
Another one I probably like I might not have chosen, but happy that I happy that I went there. And so yeah, that was my third year university.
I
That would have
think
been
that
18.
speaks to the flexibility of travel too, where like, sometimes I know for people who are just starting out traveling or who are very type A personalities where they're like, I have to do this, this is the way it has to be done, yada yada. But then the
Hmm.
expectations are set in a certain place. And so the experience isn't what they had hoped for often.
Yeah,
But in the exchanges that you've done, I mean, it's dealer's choice. You're just
yeah.
going wherever you're told.
It's like I really didn't know that much before I went, other than you sort of know a little bit about, like,
Right.
I sort of had a picture of Copenhagen in my head, but like, yeah, you don't know.
What stood out for Copenhagen in your time there? Like, because that would have been a completely different experience doing that as a university student.
Yeah. It's such a lovely place. I think, they always have those ratings of like the happiest countries in the world, and like Denmark is often like top of the list, and you sort of see that when you get there. Everyone's so content. I mean, they don't have a lot of like classes really. Like everyone's sort of like I mean, you pay high taxes there, but it means that everyone sort of has a certain quality of living, and it's not really different, you know,
Yep.
from like, whereas some places are. I think the most striking thing is I stayed in student housing there, and student housing in Denmark is very different than Canada. Just like, I mean, so they get paid to go to school there. They don't pay, and they also get like a stipend. So people stay in school for much longer. So I was sort of thinking like I'm in third year, like I'm not going to go to student housing. I imagine student housing like it was in,
Like
at
it is in
Western, which was
Canada.
like,
Yeah.
it's like pretty wild, and like, everyone's young, and but when I got there, like they have like I mean, the student housing is very nice, and then everyone has their own room and bathroom, and then you share like a big shared kitchen. Everything's I mean, beautiful. Imagine like it's Scandinavia, right? So everything looks like IKEA, and like the kitchen's like so nice. And when I first got there, they were having like a floor dinner, which they did like I think every week or two, and they're like, oh, we're having roast lamb and this and that, and like they had the candles all set, and I was like, this is like student housing. Like I was thinking like back in Canada, like the only decorations are like empty bottles and like red Solo cups, right? I'm just like, wow, like but everyone there, they're not like struggling students, right? Like so they like make nice meals, and like they're not worried about like working part-time jobs. Like some of them would do like a second master's because like they would just continue to pay like
Oh
for you to
man.
be in school. So everyone's just sort of really like content, and when they say it's like the happiest country, people aren't like like really like outwardly like happy all the time. It's just like everyone's just kind of like things are good. They're just sort of content with their lives, and I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of like comparison, like oh, these people have more, or just
It's
yeah.
interesting what can happen when people's needs are met.
Mhm,
Novel
mhm.
thought for the rest of the
Yeah.
world to consider.
Yeah.
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 Wow,
So,
that must have really shaped a lot of ideas about life for you and what it could look like, that rather than if you had just lived in, I mean, you'd already lived in Brazil, but to be a university student living somewhere else, I feel like Europeans are always so much more um mature than
mhm.
North Americans. Like
Yeah.
even talking about making a roast dinner.
Exactly.
Do you
Like I
know
was
anybody our age in university? No, it was like craft dinner, pasta, and
yeah,
like
exactly.
maybe
Like you had like
scrambled
a
eggs
jar
because we're
jar
fancy.
sauce, like pasta, and I know they're like, I was like, oh God, I better like step it up quick. Like I gotta,
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's just like they just seemed more
Yeah.
adult too, right? It was like I was like,
Yeah.
I thought I would kind of be like, oh, I don't know about this. Like, I felt a little bit more mature than like student living, and then I was like, oh, okay, these people are more mature than I am, so it was a
Yeah.
really nice place to live.
So
Yeah.
cool. I know what you mean. I mean, I was there a year ago, a year and a month ago, just for the weekend, and I got a sense while I was there just in that short period of time of like people being content or people being
Mhm.
happy. I obviously didn't
Mhm.
get to meet many local people or have that kind of experience like you did, but there's a peacefulness to the
Mhm.
city that way. And I don't know if it was like
Yeah.
all the outdoor time and the space that they have to be able to bike without getting hit by cars and stuff like that
It
too. Like very
the biking is like
simple.
unmatched there. Like I feel like it's just the bikers rule the road. Like I don't even know
Yeah.
if I was in a car. Like I lived there, like 8 or 9 months. I don't think I even was in a car. Like like you just bike
Wow.
everywhere. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, cars are expensive there, so a lot of people,
Right.
not many people have them.
Right.
But you don't need them. Everything's so flat, and like you can, like if you live on the in the outskirts, like you can take your bike onto like the metro and then get into the city, and you if you go out for dinner you bike, if you go to school you bike. It's just, yeah, it's just the way of life there. And I always loved like we would call them like the minivans of bikes, like a whole family, and it would be like mom or dad pedaling and all the kids in the big cargo, the cargo
In the
bikes.
front.
And like I
Yeah.
think I saw someone once like carrying a cello, like on a bike. Like there's just like, that's just, if you're going somewhere,
Normal.
you're if you're moving something, it's on a bike.
Yeah. I
But
saw a
but you
guy with a
also,
couch
oh
in
yeah,
one of
yeah.
his. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everything's done on a bike, but it's just feels so safe. Like the bikes are completely separate, like, roads, like with medians usually. So it's not like,
Yeah.
many places where you're like there's a bike lane and then there's no bike, it ends and then you're with all the traffic. There it's like, they have different street lights for the bikes. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it just feels like
So well set up.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
quite a contrast to places like Toronto or Montreal. I
Hmm.
will never forget, I went to Osheaga, oh god, in university a long time ago, in Montreal, and I will never forget seeing a biker who was in the bike lane, and this Mercedes-Benz with a person dressed real nice inside drove up the opposite direction, hit the biker, yelled at the biker for being in
Yeah.
the way,
Yeah.
and then drove off, and I was like, "What is this fresh hell where, like, the bike lane is not a bike lane?" And in Toronto, I mean, they're trying, but
I know. It's tough. It's
you're
like we always see like a bike lane and then it's like, oh, then there's construction for 2 blocks. So
yeah,
then there is
yeah,
no bike lane. It just ends and then like, it's or there's the subway tracks. People always get like the
right.
bikes always get stuck in those. Yeah, it's just not set up for it and they try, but then yeah, it's like then the people driving they'll get mad. So,
Yeah. You wonder
yeah.
why we can't get it right
I know.
sometimes.
I know. Even like Denmark is, they have winters like us and they swing it. Yeah. Not as
Yeah.
bad as us, not as bad as Toronto, but people bike all year round there, right? So
What was, what was, like, a philosophy or an idea or something that stuck with you from either Brazil or Denmark that you've taken with you through life since those experiences?
yeah, I think like have you heard of like hygge from the Danish word
Yeah.
hygge?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like there's no translation, but it's like coziness, it's just like sort of like appreciating like friends and good times and like nice, like I just feel like people really like took the time to appreciate things there. Like even like I was
Mhm.
saying, I was in student accommodation and like I would like, you come out in the morning and there would just be a guy before getting ready for school. He would like have a nice like, he'd be eating his nice little like an egg breakfast with like a little wine glass of orange juice and he would like have a candle lit. Like it was just like you just see like people really like just take the time to sit down and like they would even sort of use that, like often, I mean obviously they speak Danish there, but they would speak English to me, but like they would be like, how was the party? Like hyggelig? Like was it a cozy party? Like was it, it's just like,
Oh.
was it good friends and like so I think that's something I always like, even when you like move different places, like you sort of get the necessities first, but I am always like, okay, I gotta like have some nice mugs and like, like that's important to me, like having like tea
Mhm.
and coffee in a nice mug and like having
Mhm.
candles. And I think that's like,
Yeah.
even yeah, something that I've sort of never forgotten that.
That's interesting that you bring that up as the thing that you pulled forward because I remember when we met in Ireland and I would go over to your place, you had nested more than I did, whereas, like, I made an active decision not to nest. I
Yeah.
think I had, like my place was as sparse as it could be, because I knew I would be leaving, but I was impressed and surprised by the fact that you did nest when we were
Mhm.
there and you had, like, things to make you feel homey and whatever, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, there's different ways to do this." Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so
yeah.
cool.
Those are like I'm not gonna drink out of plastic glasses like in my own house. Like I'm gonna have a wine glass. I'm gonna have like I drink a lot of tea, so like I'm gonna have some nice
Yeah.
teacups. Like yeah, those are things I think I would like. It feels like okay, you're here. Like this is like
Yes, be
something
here.
that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so university 3rd year was Copenhagen,
yeah.
and then you were home to finish university, and then did you
Mhm.
do your master's right away? I'm trying to think of age and timing.
Let's see. Yeah, so I did finish university. I did a year in Toronto. I did I went to George Brown for a year, so I did a postgrad diploma because again I wasn't sure, and then from that I sort of knew what career path I wanted to take, so that I then I applied for school in Dublin,
Yay!
and that's
Yeah,
where we
so
met.
I know. Best. That's a great story too. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, so
Yeah.
you did your master's at Trinity College in
hmm
Dublin.
Yeah.
Do you wanna tell the people what you know a lot about because you studied it a ton?
Yeah. So I have a master's in psychology and applied behavior analysis. So I worked at a school for autism, and so I sort of like got in as a frontline worker. I knew I wanted to work on autism, and then quickly when I got in, I realized, okay, I want to, be in this career, and then sort of saw like, what you need to kind of move up, and needed a master's in applied behavior analysis. So that's what I did. There actually wasn't many programs around actually in Canada at the time. So um, that was sort of, another push to go abroad. And so, yeah, I ended up, kind of looked at all different places. There were quite a few programs in the States and some online programs, but then I saw Dublin and I thought, well, that sounds pretty nice. So applied for that one and got in.
Yeah, and the rest is history. Okay, I gotta tell
Mhm.
the story of how we met. And I'd love actually to hear your side of it as well. But for me, like I had just gotten to Dublin. It was September, and I was essentially living in a hostel at that time while I tried to find housing. And one of the girls in my hostel room was super homesick, I think is what it was, and ended up in your hostel room. And so I helped her move everything from our hostel over to yours. And you happened to be there as we were moving her in. And I think you just said to me, like, well, you want to go out tonight or something along the
Yeah.
lines of like super casual.
Yeah.
Uh, and I said yes. And then we ended up going out that night. Do you remember where we went? Which pub?
No.
No, somewhere
Um,
downtown.
I know. I'm trying to even think like where would we have known, like, at the time, or like is there
Yeah.
maybe someone pointed us in a certain direction? I don't even remember.
The only thing I remember detail-wise about that, and it's not because of the alcohol consumed, but
Yeah.
was do you remember when we went to the corner store that's, like, right on the quays there, at O'Connell Bridge where, we asked for a Mickey of alcohol, and that's not the word that you used
Yeah.
there? Do you remember? Yeah. For anybody who's listening, if you're going to Ireland, do not ask for a Mickey of alcohol. If it's a guy at the counter, he's gonna be very excited that you asked for a
Yeah.
Mickey. And you will learn very quickly that it's
Yeah.
called a Negan, not a
Yeah.
Mickey.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, even like language differences. You think you're in an English speaking country, but it's like there's plenty of things throughout the year where like you don't understand
Oh my
them, and then
god.
you use phrases from Canada, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
So many
Yeah,
scenarios. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. What were some standouts from your time in Dublin and going to school there? Because being an undergrad student is a different ballpark than being a master's student, especially when you've got to deal with like international fees. And like, I feel like you just take things more seriously at that age and with those
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
heightened risks. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing I would say, like, if, when I was in Copenhagen, when it's an exchange through your university, you just pay your regular or at the time, that's what it was, you just pay your regular university fees. So if you have a chance to do an undergrad exchange, I would do that because it's much more affordable, other than the additional cost of living abroad. But then when
Yeah.
if you're just applying to be an international student, the costs like shoot right up. I mean, in general, the master's programs are often more expensive, but it certainly was more expensive to be an international student. And so yeah, it was like I, had to, knew going into that was like the price I was going to pay for the year. Had a loan and some student loans
Yeah.
around that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was very happy to be accepted into the program, and I actually because of my additional classes I had already taken at the university, I actually only had to do a year of their program. So it was actually a 2-year program. You can graduate with a diploma after 1 year or with a master's after 2 years. And so I sent all my syllabus and transcripts and a nice letter stating why I think I only need to do the second year. And they went through everything like in detail, and they agreed. So that was nice that I only had to do the second
Amazing.
year, which was a lot more. First year was a little bit more like textbook, sort of, learning and taking tests, and then the second year was much more independent study, just writing papers, a lot more, just self-led. We didn't have a lot of classes. It was like we had class like one day a week, I think. But we had some placements, and so it was about a lot more like, you were more involved in the you know agencies or schools or wherever you kind of decided to go. But a lot more like you had to lead yourself, right? So like you had to just, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the library from 9 to 5, on the days that I'm not in school, and you had to do a lot on your own.
Be more
um
disciplined for sure.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the experience like working in like doing your co-ops in an Irish setting as opposed to a Canadian one too? That had to have been cool to pull some experience from that and see the
Yeah.
differences when you got back to Canada.
Yeah. So I did my placement at a school there. It was with sort of a behavior class, they called it. So it was sort of some girls that had, been kicked out of classes, or, were sort of really at risk of not graduating high school, being on the like expelled or being switched to like a, behavior management kind of school. And it was really, really interesting, from just sort of the background that they were from. Some of them, like their families would have identified as, travelers, or,
Mhm, mhm.
those sort of communities in and around Dublin. But really a lot of them, I think they had some sort of behavioral challenges because they didn't have a lot of literacy. They actually their reading level was really poor. So that was the program that I worked in, is we helped sort of catch up their reading, because that's why they were sort of like wanting to get kicked out of class because they were really struggling. But they instantly liked me because I was from Canada, and that's where Justin Bieber was from. So I had some serious street cred with them. So I think that helped, them not, teenage girls not targeting me. So
Yeah.
they were always talking. That was the only thing they knew about Canada, but they were pretty excited about it. So, yeah, I think that was sort of like my, shoe in of,
Yeah.
of them, coming around to, obviously they didn't want to be there working on reading with me, but they came
Right.
around. So yeah, it was
Cool.
it was a really cool program, and I mean, the schools there are quite old school religious. Like there's nuns,
Yeah.
nuns walking around, and it's so funny, you see like a nun on like an iPad, like, putting grades in. It's like it just, feels very like
Doesn't compute.
yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. But it was nice to be part of, like, part of the community there, of like, in the staff lounge with the teachers, and kind of.
Yeah. I think, all of the exchange experiences that you've had living with host families, going to university, working in local settings, that's such a phenomenal way to understand a culture better too, and not just move there as an
Mhm,
expat and have a ton of expat friends. Like,
mhm,
those are
mhm,
very different kinds of exchange experiences, and, to anybody who's listening who would consider something like this, I would highly suggest the homestay or doing it through university or getting work with a local company in order to get those experiences similar to that you've had. Like, it's just yeah,
mhm.
it's,
'Cause it can be
a
hard
different
to,
level.
yeah, to meet
Integrate.
locals some places. Like, yeah,
Yep.
even when we were moving to Belgium, people said that, like, you probably don't have any Belgian friends you'll meet, because there's so many expats.
Right.
It's like you sort of have to go out of your way to meet, like, local people, right? I mean, people are also, they're just living their lives too, right? Like, they don't necessarily want to meet new
New
people.
friends.
They've lived here their whole lives. They've got their friends and family. So that's why,
Yep.
yeah, like, it's sort of it's always easier to meet expats, but it's nice
Yep.
to, like, have those experiences that you're sort of open up the doors to meet, to be part of like
Yeah.
the local community.
Okay, so take us to Belgium then. How did the decision come to, not as an individual, but as a mom of 2, move with your family, like, young kids too? How old are your girls again?
Mhm. So when we left, Raya was 3, and Mila was 6 months. So now a year later, a year and a half and 4. Yeah, I sort of felt like
Yeah.
I sort of felt like my days abroad were done, it felt like it was so much more approachable, like, as a student,
Yeah.
and so I didn't really know that it would be the option for us. I mean, it's like in Canada, like you have a house, a mortgage, like your kids are in school, like daycare, and you just sort of think, all right, we're sort of settled. But yeah, it just
Yeah.
sort of came about. I mean, luckily in Canada we have long mat leave, so you could take up to 18 months, and so that was kind of part of it. And then my uncle's, my uncle, my my husband's company, um, he actually was like one of the only ones in his department that worked in Toronto, and then the rest of his department was all in Brussels. And so it made
Okay.
sense. So it wasn't actually, they didn't like say we had to move. It was sort of a bit voluntary on our part, and it, made sense from the company point of view. Like they sort of agreed to it because he was able to be closer to the rest of his team here. Um, yeah, and so that sort of we sort of put the ball, put things in motion, and then um, of course, as paperwork goes, it took longer than we had hoped to get here. Um, but yeah, we got here in the end, and yeah, we were here just for a year. So we're heading home soon.
Yeah. Which I'm excited for you, but I was excited for you when you got the opportunity to leave, because I know that you had said, like, with having kids, that you had felt that your ability to live abroad and things like that, had changed, which is a pretty common, as you already mentioned, mentality here. But then for you to get the opportunity, I could just see a little spark in you, like,
Yeah.
we come, that was so cool. But I'm excited to have you home as well. Can you explain a little bit about how the move abroad process worked, like with a family, and what you had to consider differently, and what some of the, bumps or learning curves were in that?
Yeah, so I think even when we had said we were going to Belgium, everyone's like, "Oh, get ready for the paperwork," because it's just it's a place that has, three different languages. They have a lot of bureaucracy and things like that. So yeah, there's lots of paperwork to do before you get here. Everything has to be translated, apostilled, which I had never done before. I don't know if you had to get things apostilled, like you have to get them like legitimized in Canada. And so there was
Right.
just lots of paperwork, of course. So like my husband had to get his work permit and then kind of add us all onto that. And so just it's sort of like you just have to, someone kind of just said like it takes a long time, but you just chip away at it, right? Like okay, you do this one thing, you send that in, they return this. Okay, now you have to do this thing, and you just so try not to have too much of a timeline because you have to, wait for certain things to get done to do the next thing. And so yeah, like it probably took about close to 6 months, but like when it was all said and done, of like kind of asking to go to then like getting the final, and even then we got our final paperwork like like 2 days before our flight. Like we ended up having, I think
Right.
we ended up having to like go get it in Montreal, or like no, my husband's brother was in Montreal, and that's where the paperwork office, like where they approved everything.
Oh my God.
My husband was ready to book a flight to Montreal to go get it, so that we could keep our original flights, but we ended up getting it through his brother happened to be there and was able to pick it up for us. But we were like down to the wire of like, okay, we're gonna have to move our flights again. I think we had already moved them. But anyways, we got here, and then when you get here, the paperwork continues, to the point where actually we've been here a year, and our final paperwork got approved last week. Like
What?
they just like we just had our marriage certificate sort of like legitimized here. And so to the point now where 2 weeks from now we have to go and deregister our paperwork before we leave. So it's a whole process, but very, very interesting. Here they have Brussels is made up of like 19 different communes, they're called, like municipalities in the city. And so each municipality has its own like town hall. So you have to go to your own town hall to like do all of this, and then it's a little bit complicated, but it seems to work out. It's fine otherwise. Once your paperwork's done, it's pretty easy
It's time to go
to
home.
live here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wild. I didn't realize that the paperwork took that long. That's interesting. And was that
Yeah.
mostly tied to like visa uh,
Yeah, it's funny
logistics,
because like I
or?
mean the visa, obviously he couldn't work until he had, so the visa's already done. It's just like then you have to register like to be like a citizen here, I guess, like to get your identification card. So everyone in the family has identification cards in Belgium.
Yeah.
So like you're considered a resident. So they actually, like, you go to the commune, you have to bring, it's all in French or Dutch depending on which commune you are. So
Yeah.
when we first got here, we brought a translator because it was like sort of the, we sort of get by otherwise in life, but you didn't want to mess this up. So
No.
you have to like register, and then they actually send police to your house to check up on you to make sure you're actually like the people are living where they say you're living. So like a
What?
policeman comes to your door like it was at like 8 o'clock at night, and like he checks your passports, and like you're like, okay, you're living here. I mean, they're all very nice. It's not, it's not scary. It's just kind of odd. And then, yeah, just little things. You have to like, you know, the school asks for certain paperwork,
Right.
and yeah. But you get through it. It's,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
So with the girls, then you did school, daycare. I remember you were talking to me beforehand. You were interested to see how the language would go for them and how they would
yeah.
integrate with peers and whatnot. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so that was kind of the only thing like we had set up before we came was like my older daughter was in school here. So it was a local in the local schools in Brussels. You can either choose French or Dutch. So we chose French, of course, because we'll be back in Canada and learning French eventually. So she's in a fully French school here. It's called maternelle, which is sort of the equivalent of our
Uh-huh.
kindergarten, but they actually start at 2.5 here.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so it starts very early, which is kind of nice because if she was back in Canada, she still would have been in daycare
Hmm.
this whole year. And so she's in a public school here. So it's great, which is nice. And yeah, obviously, like it's a very, I mean, Brussels is a very international community, so they're very used to having people come that don't necessarily speak perfect French, or a lot of the kids speak many different languages. So you hear
Hmm.
when I go pick her up, you hear like you kind of walking past people, it's like Spanish, you hear like, oh, German, like different languages as you go. So even if it's like I don't know, the teachers, I've never spoken English to them, but I'm like everything's in French. But at that age, you just sort of need to trying. It's very like,
Yeah.
like the shoes are in the backpack, kind of like, broken French. But for the most part, when they talk to me, I understand, but the output is a little, choppy, but enough to like, okay, like making sure I'm picking her up at the right time. I mean, different days have different times, and they have after school activities and things like that. So all those
Yeah.
things enough to get by. And yeah, our daughter's been, I think her French is probably surpassing ours now, I would say. Like it
I
just sort of
love
like
it.
it just sort of like seemed to like all come out, in the past couple of months. Like I feel like um she was a little nervous at the beginning, or like, we would try and kind of get it out of her after school. And she,
Yeah.
it had to be on her terms. Like she would just kind of like
Yep.
start singing a French song, and or things like that. So I tried to teach her little like phrases before she went, or like, we'd do French books like the animals and colors and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
then she would come out with a phrase that like I wouldn't have taught her, like I said something and she said like, c'est pas grave, like, it's no big deal, or like I think it's all right, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like something, those little like phrases. It's like, oh, obviously she like learned those at school, so it's
So
it's cute to see like
cool.
all the kids like adapting at the school. But she still has one little English bestie at school that they talk English all the time, but that's fine. She's
Cute.
she's happy there.
Oh man, that's
Yeah,
what that's gotta be so cool to see that as a parent, and also kind of bizarre maybe too to hear your kid coming home speaking another language that you like don't
yeah,
speak at home with them.
yeah.
That's so neat.
I know.
Will you
It's
guys
kind of
try
fun.
and do French immersion with her here or no?
Yeah, yeah. So she's registered for next year for French immersion. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And actually,
Amazing.
so our younger daughter here didn't go to, like, she was just home with me all year, so she didn't go to daycare. We did like some mom groups and things like that, but they were all in English, like they were like expat, community.
Yeah.
But she's actually going to be going to a French daycare because
Cool.
we
That's
got into
badass.
one, and then yeah, so that's kind of
Nice.
exciting to like hopefully try and keep things up and keep
Yeah, what a
for me to
gift to
keep
give your
learning.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wicked. And then, like, from your side of things, so you were I don't even like using this term, but you were off from, like, career work,
Yeah.
but you've had your hands full with logistics, getting the house set up, child rearing, all that kind of things. How was the experience for you personally this time? Because socially, it would have been
Mm.
much different integrating or finding communities. Like, how was it finding the mom groups, or where were other spaces that you met people, or, what was that uh, yeah, what was
Yeah,
that like
I
this
know.
time?
I think so before I came, there was a few like sort of Facebook groups of like schools and schools in Brussels, that kind of thing. So that was nice to get the information. Like I would like look up her, different schools, and then you had to try and get her into school. Like they don't have like at home you just put your address in and they say this is your school, right? They don't have that here. So you
Right.
just sort of go find your school yourself. So it could be full, or
Oh,
like you just sort of have to like ask around if it's a good school. And so we found the
wow.
school first and then found accommodation near the school. So that was sort of nice. There was a few like, you'd see moms like or moms or dads like talk about certain schools. And like, a lot of people would say like, if you go to the school, reach out, my kid's in this class. And so there's a few, sort of groups that form kind of from the school, like expat families at the school.
Yeah.
And then there's another group that is called BCT, Belgian Childhood Trust is called. And that I would say like if anyone's coming here with a family, it's like a really big network. They have sort of a clubhouse, they call it, where they have like more organized pregnancy classes and those kinds of things. But then it's sort of like a grassroots organization where like people just kind of create like park meetups and like I've hosted a bunch at my house, just like coffee dates. You just sort of say like my daughter is, around the age of 1, like if anyone wants to come between this time to this time. And so
Yeah.
that's been really nice. I would say that's something like, it could have been isolating otherwise, where I'm just like drop my daughter
Mhm.
because even when I go to like my daughter's school, most of the families are French speaking, and really parents are like on their way in and out to work for the most part. No one's really
Yeah.
hanging around. So I would say that wouldn't have been a great like way to meet people. But this other organization, it's mainly expat families. There's some Belgian families, but it's just everyone's kind of like, from the UK or Germany or anywhere, kind of anywhere. There's a lot of because Brussels is the head of the capital of Europe. The headquarters are here, so a lot of like families that work for the embassies
Diplomats and things
and
like that?
all the diplomats, and so yeah, a lot of different families. Like they'll have like different groups. Like they'll do like dad park dates and um
Cool.
like mom's night out, like where you can go out for dinner, and so there's lots of, I would say there's like, enough to kind of like fill your time as much as you want, like I didn't do
Cool.
everything in that group, but they create sort of like local kind of offshoots, like, for sort of like hyper local, I guess, where it's like just your little, neighborhood, even like, you sort of say like this park, if anyone wants to come like these times to these times. So um that's been nice. And then, often you sort of meet like other moms that you sort of connect with, and you maybe just plan to like see them for coffee, or, like I think that's sort of been a nice
Cool.
I think my year would have been different without that or that organization. So um
Yeah.
think things like that are, I think a lot of places have things like that, or even just like, Facebook groups or things that are
Facebook
like,
groups. Yeah.
um, I think that's come a long way.
I have a million more questions for you on this topic, and I'll be interested to see what else like listeners want to learn about. A, as a family moving abroad, but B, like from the logistics side of things, the social side of things, the language side of things. I think we might have to have you back for another talk about more of this in detail. Of if you had to go back to Brazil, Denmark, Ireland, Belgium, where would you move again for another year?
Mm, that's
As a
hard to
family,
say.
because
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
a family, yeah.
It's hard to say. I think, I mean, I just feel like, we're here now, right? We're so situated. Like, I just feel like we could have extended our time in Belgium. It feels very like easy to get, but like honestly, and sort of Brazil, I think Brazil would be a little bit of a harder move, but I mean, uh, like Denmark and Ireland, obviously both like you can get by pretty easily in English. I mean, obviously Ireland,
Mm,
but like even Denmark, like I mean, everyone speaks very good English there, so like the kids would probably,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of like international schools and things. So I mean, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say. Here,
It's hard to
I
pick.
would just like, we're already so situated here that I would like just probably be happy to stay here. I think, Brussels is a really, I don't know, it's an easy place to live. I don't know, even though it's a big capital city, it doesn't feel like, when you go to like London or Paris, like they feel a lot more like hustle and bustle. They feel so much bigger. Brussels is big enough, but like once you're in your like sort of little pocket of the city in our neighborhood, we're just walking back and forth to school every day.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it sort of um, feels like just life, as usual.
Yeah.
So it'll be actually kind of weird to go home, I feel, but no, we're happy to go
I'm
home to
wondering
Canada
about
too.
that, the
Yeah.
reintegration to Canada. I mean, it's not gonna be your first time coming back again and doing the whole reverse culture shock thing, but for your
hmm
girls, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Is this Udit's first time living in another country as well?
Yeah, pretty. I mean, he was, born he was born in India, but
Right,
yeah,
right.
he's been in Canada basically his whole life. So,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, I think he's gonna miss it. He really likes like at home he mostly worked remote, so he didn't really have much of a team around in the office. But here he would go to the office every day, and where he works they have like they feed them, so they get lunch every day, and so he would sit with his colleagues and have that more
Oh,
like
lovely.
community aspect, whereas like he would see them on the screen before, but here you sort of get to know people a little better, so I think that's something he'll probably miss, you know going back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Did you guys choose to do a year abroad because of kindergarten coming up for Rhea? Or like why was the year time frame chosen? Or was that something that work said this is what the company will allow?
Yeah, so they offered a year visa, and so I think if it was like going to be extended, it would sort of have to be indefinitely, like he would have been just moved to the
Mm,
to the Brussels office, so there was what so it wasn't sort of like, oh, you can just do another 6 months, another year. It was
yeah.
sort of like, we'll give you this year, or like you commit to just moving here full time.
Moving.
And
Yeah.
yeah, part of it is like my daughter will start school. That's sort of like on schedule for back in Canada, and because we're doing French immersion, you sort of have to hit like kindergarten, or then you don't go, I think, until grade 3. Um,
Depends on the school board. Yeah.
Depends on the school board, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they would have made an exception if she was coming from a French school. Maybe they would have, but um, yeah, certainly I think our all the paperwork was done was done for a year. So certainly if we stayed, it would have been another round of paperwork. But
Yeah.
we have family support, and we have a house at home. So there were certain things, if we were going to be staying longer, that we would have had to probably go back and sell our house, or can't just have it like sitting
Right.
there. So
Yeah. Do you wanna touch on a little bit how you guys chose what to do with your house while you were away? Because that's another, like, big logistic piece for
mm,
families that are looking to move abroad. Do we keep the house? Do we sell it? Do we rent
yeah,
it? Do we
yeah.
Yeah.
I know. We weren't really sure what we were going to do. We thought about selling it, but just then you're trying to get back into I didn't like the idea of going back home and not having anything. You're, especially as my
Yep.
daughter's gonna start school, like you want to be sort of where it's situated. But so we were like just planning to keep it vacant. But my in-laws ended up doing some construction on their house, so they moved in for a little bit, which was nice. So they, kind of were able to watch over our house. And then I don't know if we actually just are doing some construction right now in our house. So
Oh, no way!
yeah, so we're reconfiguring our upstairs to 4 bedrooms now that we have 2 kids. So
Cool.
we still have the guest
Yeah.
room. And so that's a little bit weird to do from abroad, but we're making it work. And it'll be nice to hopefully be done by the time we get home.
Yeah. You'll come home to somewhat of a different house. That'll be
Yeah,
interesting too.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of bizarre,
Yeah.
but
Awesome. All right. I'm looking at the time. You and I could gab for
I
forever.
know, I know.
This is like a not only just a podcast chat, it's like a bit of a catch up for us as well.
Yeah.
Um, I have a few questions. Do you have some
Take
time
the time.
still?
I don't hear any babies. She's
Okay.
my daughter's sleeping, so she's the timer. So
Given that you've done a lot of travel by yourself and as a kid in your family growing up and now as the parent, do you have any like through lines, like travel traditions or things that rituals or things like that when you're traveling or moving abroad?
hmm, what do I what do I do? I mean, I often will. Um, I just like to like sort of like get a coffee and like walk around places. I feel like that's like I'm not big on like you have to hit every, like every museum and every,
Mhm.
XYZ or just only the like, Instagram spots. I think
Yeah.
like I sort of like to like I often will look up like neighborhoods, and sort of like when you're booking accommodation, just I mean now even like with family, like I'll search family friendly neighborhoods in Lisbon or whatever, and you just sort of like um
Lisbon. Are you moving to Lisbon
no,
next?
we went there. I would love to go to. I really like Lisbon, but just sort of like getting the vibe and of a neighborhood, wanting to make sure it's safe. I mean, especially when you're just traveling, like it to be ideally like walkable or
Mhm.
I mean now with having kids, like sometimes it's nice to like be able to go back during the day to your hotel. Like we have kids that nap and things like that.
Yep.
So, but I think it's always sort of that just getting a general sense of like the city or the country, to sort of where you want to like locate yourself, first. And then I always do like a bit of research on things that I want to do, but never have like I think I used to be more like strict itinerary, but now I'm a little bit more, especially with kids, a little bit more loose on like, on the day to day of like just kind of like we want to get up and we want to sort of hit some of these spots, but we might take
Yeah.
turns along the way and like to be a little bit more relaxed than
Go with the
I
flow.
used to be. I
Yeah.
used to have like printouts of like 12 o'clock do this, 3 o'clock do this.
No
Uh,
way. I don't see you doing that at
yeah, yeah,
all.
yeah.
That's so
I think back like
interesting.
when I was in Copenhagen, my friend came and we did like the like 1 month like Eurail, like different country every 2 days, like
Oh, yeah.
and I mean that was a little bit we didn't have as much access to internet and things, right? Right. So it
Right.
was I feel like that was the one thing too. I used to plan a lot more because it was like you had your hotel, you had this, like I would like
Yeah.
write out like how to get from the station to the hotel or like you also didn't have a lot of money so you weren't taking cabs. Like it was so I think that was
Yeah.
you had to like know
Different kind
which
of
trains you were
travel.
gonna hit. And yeah, now we're a little bit slower paced in that like you just kind of punch somewhere for like 4 or 5 days and like you have things that you want to do, food you want to eat and
Yeah.
but not necessarily. I mean, my kids aren't gonna do a 3 hour museum tour. Like, so it's like you just kind of those. It's not the time in my life to do those. Really,
Yeah.
some of those things. But
Yeah.
yeah, I like to just sort of get a sense of the city. Just like walking around with a coffee. Eating in a nice little square kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most underrated pleasures of traveling is
Mhm.
that simple get a drink, either sit and people watch and get a
Mhm.
vibe or
Mhm.
wander around and just feel for a place. I feel like there's an art, a bit of an art and a science to it that
Yeah.
isn't talked about a ton, but
Yeah.
I agree. It's one of the best. Do you still scrapbook too? Because you're big. Like for anybody who doesn't know Chloe, she is an arts and crafts queen. It blows my mind the cool stuff that you make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in a while, but I was thinking about it for this trip. Like now that my, a daughter, like 4-year-old that's sort of getting into crafts. I think like I'm gonna try and like
Yeah.
with her, like it won't be like the main scrapbook because I don't want her to mess up. But there'll be a kid-friendly version where she's allowed to,
So true.
clean.
Yeah.
I'll probably do like the like the ones you can order now, like where you kind of have all of her pictures there because it does take a long time that I don't
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
have. But well, I think I'd like for her to have a keepsake of like something that she's kind of created and like she could like
Yeah.
take it for show and tell or like something of like I think because I do wonder at her age like for like is she gonna remember this year. I don't know that she will, but I hope like I think looking back on some of the memories I've had young, like they're almost like did I remember them, or are they sort of created through pictures? So I think it would be nice for her to have like a keepsake of something to look back on. Maybe she'll be like 6 or 7 looking back on the pictures. It'll keep those memories. So yeah, hopefully when I get back and get the house all set up and get my craft spots out, then we can,
Yeah.
yeah, get back into creating something. Because I think I mean, I don't buy a lot of souvenirs, but I think that's sort of
Right.
like the scrapbooks I'm happy to keep and, you know, look back on.
Definitely. Those are treasures
Hmm.
for sure.
Hmm.
And when you get back, do you have to hop into work right away? What's your timeline that way?
No, I've just resigned actually from my position. Yeah. I know I was there 10 years, so that's kind of wild. But
Yeah.
yeah, just with our timing, I was, yes, yeah. So yeah, we're gonna figure it out in the fall. But I worked it was about an hour commute, and now with 2 kids, I was sort of,
Right.
happy to, like, I'm hoping to get something a little bit more local, maybe a bit remote, maybe part-time even, because we
Yeah.
don't have before and after care
Daycare.
for so we
Yeah.
just got a daycare spot, which we're happy about. But yeah, like my daughter's school starts at 9:30. So like I used to leave.
Oh, that's
I
really late.
know. And so I used to leave at 7:30 to get to my job at 8:30, and now I'm like, okay, like, it's sort of
Right.
figuring that out. So unfortunately,
Oy
because we
vey.
got French immersion spot, the school we didn't expect, she wasn't on the wait list, and so
Mm,
so we'll see how that all is going to turn out. Luckily, all the kids I know in the neighborhood are going to the same school as well. Everyone's in the
cool.
same boat. So if I do, find full time job, like we'll figure something out with like some sort of nanny share or whatever. But just
Right.
we're happy to have a little bit of flexibility in the meantime to sort of ease
Definitely.
back
You
in.
always have such a good attitude about things. You're just like so positive and go with the flow and things will work out. I
Yeah,
love that about
yeah.
you.
Like I feel like I
Yeah.
present as that. If you ask my husband, he'd be like, she's stressing about this, like, or trying to get, my like letters to the daycare, being like, please give us a spot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I'm not a mom yet, if I ever am sort of
yeah.
thing, but I I don't know why our system can't get it together on like
It is like
daycare and timing of
ruthless.
things.
Like here, I'm like, oh,
Oh,
it's so nice the kids go to school at like two and a half, because I feel like it just sort of gives an even plane for people, like for families that, like,
yes.
it's not like you're fighting, it's just like, oh, you just at two and a half, you figure out what you have to do ahead of that time. But it just sort of gives like all families like, okay, like they have a spot from, like 8:30 to 3 every day. And sort of like, if you need other care after that, you figure it out. But at least, like, it's not
It's not the Hunger
years of,
Games in the
yeah,
meantime.
literally. Yeah. So yeah, so we're happy to have a spot for our younger daughter. And then yeah, my older daughter will be in
Yeah.
school. But yeah, obviously, like the school hours and the work hours don't quite align. So yeah, we'll see. It's been a big, transition for the family, but happy to sort of like ease into it a little
Yes.
bit more versus like having to, like,
Bam.
yeah,
Yeah.
land and full time back to, for everyone. So
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
have
so
nice,
positive.
and
I
like
love it.
summer in Canada, it's so nice. So I'm excited to,
Yeah.
my parents live, a few hours away from us, so getting to go up
I
there,
popped in to see
I know,
them.
that's so exciting. Can I sent you a picture of you
Yeah.
guys? That's
That was such a nice visit,
mm,
but it was great to see your
yeah.
parents.
Yeah. Well, this summer,
That'll be nice for you to
you can come up again, and while I'm there.
I'll be up there. I'll come visit you guys. Yeah. Yeah. I'll
I
come
hope I
visit
get
you guys
invited
for
this
sure.
time, just you and my parents.
Yeah. Too funny.
Yeah.
Okay. We've touched on some of the other topics that I usually like to bring up with people. We've talked a little bit about language. Do you still like at the end of your time in Brazil or Copenhagen, not so much Ireland, because we know what you pick up
Mhm.
there for
Yeah.
all the great swear words and
Yeah.
idioms and such. Um, and with Belgium, like, have you retained much or used much of the languages? Do you enjoy any of that, or are you like functional? What I have to do to get by, and then I'm done with it.
No, I do. I mean, I do like languages. So when I went to Brazil, they didn't speak a lot of English where I lived. So I would say I learned Portuguese much better than I had ever learned French, in my like however long we learned in
Right.
Canada, 10 years of language instruction. I think just because like you're so immersed in it. So when you land there, it's
Yeah.
like, and you also don't have like Google Translate you do now. Like you're just sort of like playing charades and like getting by. And I feel like that is the best way to learn. And so like I was
Yeah.
pretty fluent. I was, got by pretty good by the time I left in a year. Definitely much more than French. And even then that was like I hate to say it, like almost like 20 years ago that I came back from Brazil. And like even when we moved to Brussels, like my Portuguese would have been better than my like when I would like try and speak, like Portuguese would come out first. And there are a lot of like sort of
Yes.
similarities in the languages, but now it has shifted a little bit. Like I would say my French is still not not great. Even like I'm not totally immersed in French here, right? Like, I get
Right.
by with at
Yeah.
the store and at school, but for the most part when I'm speaking to like friends and I'm speaking all in English. So when you're not forced to learn it, even though I'm like doing the Duolingo thing and like when I go into a store, I really try to speak French before I have to switch to some English words.
Yeah.
I think it really makes you learn the language much better. And then Denmark, they speak such good English and like Danish is just like I would try and say things in Danish and they're like I'm like,
It's another
I feel
level.
like what I'm saying sounds like what you're saying. And they're like, we have no idea what you're saying. Like, some of the sounds, like I just don't think we have them. Like
We don't
the,
make
like,
them.
the
No.
O with the slash.
Slash through
It's
it.
hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to do. It's very like throaty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
there's certain things that they like want people that aren't Danish to say. There's like one thing they always tell you to say is this like dessert name,
Uh-oh.
and it's because it has 3 of those O's in it. So I'll completely butcher it, but it's like rule grul moflu, and it's like red pudding with cream or something, and like it's just like if you don't grow up with that, if you don't speak that language,
Yeah, your muscles
you're
don't
just
make
not
it.
gonna get it. Yeah. So, and I mean,
Yeah.
they learn English to such a high standard there that it's just like
Right.
it would be very. I did a little Danish course when I first got there, and they teach you little funny things like say I have a hangover and things like that. It was all university students,
Oh,
which is ja har tømmermænd. I
I love
still
that they
remember that. It means like I have like a hammerhead or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
So and like the little like day to day like tack means thank you, and you still sort of say those things, but just to be like respectful. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that you, if you're out in public in Toronto or somewhere else, because Toronto's so multicultural, if you hear other like
Hmm.
Portuguese or Danish or whatnot,
Yeah.
do you feel your ears kind of prick
Yeah.
up and it's just like,
Yeah,
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 takes you
especially like
back?
Portuguese, because I would say
Yeah.
like I could, it's almost like on the streetcar or something. It's almost like oh, like I'm like in on a little secret,
Yeah.
even though I'm sure like there are plenty of people in Toronto that speak Portuguese, but
Right.
yeah, I do. I mean, I know you love languages, and I actually have a minor in
Yeah.
linguistics, so that was I always I feel like I've
Did
told you
I
that. I
know
don't know.
this? Probably. It's been a while since
Yeah,
we've talked about university.
but
Yeah.
I do find like learning languages very it's so interesting, and it's so hard to do. It's you really
Uh,
like when you're traveling, like the privilege that we have speaking English, like you really get to know that, right? Like that you could just go anywhere in the world and
Yep.
kind of like get by enough. Like if if you need to go to the hospital or you need to like get something, like there's always going to
It's
be someone
true.
that will help you out. Whereas like yeah, like not everyone has that, or
Yep.
like I mean, you sort of take like people here just like many of them just speak 4 languages. Like we don't like when you're English
Yeah.
speaking, you're not sort of like okay, we have to learn these other languages
Yep.
to travel the world. It's just sort of like that you'll always get by. But yeah, I definitely don't take that
Yep.
don't take that lightly because yeah.
Definitely. You've tossed a couple cool phrases our way, a couple cool words. Any other favorites from any of the languages that you know?
Oh.
Or anything that's like weird and you're like, oh, this always sticks in my
Yeah,
head.
in Brazil they say like que saudade. I don't know if you've heard that. It's like I miss you, like
No.
longing. So like when like whenever like I think that's something even like seeing you now. It's like oh que saudade. Like I haven't
Yeah.
like it means like this longing or like but they use it a lot like in the day to day. If you haven't seen a friend in a long time, like you would say like like I have like saudade de você is like that's sort of I think there's those words that sort of don't translate, like huga and saudaji.
Yep.
Those are things that you learn, and they're like there's sort of like a big part of the culture, right? Like you sort of like
Mm-hmm.
when I think of Copenhagen, I think of like coziness and like saudade. Like I think of like just the Brazilian people are so like social. So it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
not just like an odd word in the language that we don't have. It's like really like at the front and center like of that culture. Um, so I think those
Yeah.
are like I almost like want to like put those words in my house house somewhere. I think like like I need like signs of like Sautachi, like of like all the
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
places that I've been, almost like sort of like things that
Yeah.
you don't want to like give up when you go home. It's like, okay, those are the pieces I need to like bring back to my
You want to
life
retain.
and to,
Yes.
to our family. So
Yeah, 100%. With tech and everything and how it's changed through our lifetimes, like we've already talked a little bit about how when you left for Brazil, like, you weren't watching on TikTok everything about the place you were
yeah,
going to move to
yeah.
or whatever else. How has I don't even want to call it the evolution because I have thoughts, but how has tech changed how you travel and move abroad and experience these different parts of your life?
Yeah, I think well, the one thing is the planning. I think I'd probably do a little less planning because I know I can just like sort of look things up and Google Maps things, like, is easier to do now. And then I think, yeah, just being connected to people. I think like if I were to move here without technology, I think like having that opportunity to like get information on schools, like that totally helped
Yeah.
ease my anxiety of like just throwing my daughter into a random school here and knowing nothing about it, right? So like getting feedback from parents, and then like, yeah, those like social connections, like I think um that's made a big difference. Like I think I sort of, without technology, I can't imagine really like how I would have met people. Like of course, like even as an adult, right? Like it's like you're not really going up to people in the grocery store being like, "Hey, you have a kid, like, do you want to hang
Let's
hang
be
out?" Like,
friends.
sure, you can do that, but it's like, yeah, like you sort of like there's these places where like, m- maybe not physical places, but like online places where it's like people are coming for a need, like, moms that are at home, or
Ooh.
like, like families that want to go somewhere, or like in Brussels there's a Facebook group called like Women of Brussels meetup or something. So it's a lot of even women that come like for work, that want to like meet up with other women to like
Yeah.
they have all sorts of different, like, they're gonna go to a concert, or like they have crafting groups or book clubs, things like that. Um, whereas like you might not want to like do certain things in the city like at night on your own, right? Like they're like, okay, let's plan to like all go together. So I think things like that have really, they sort of open up the doors to meeting all sorts of people, with the same interests or sort of same stage of life.
Yeah. So interesting the way you phrased that, where you said, there's places, not physical places, but online places where we do that now, where we find
Hmm.
community. It's almost like our brains have shifted to find it weird if people do that in person,
Hmm.
but I kind of want to bring that back.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
we,
I
I
kind of
mean,
want to
we
be the
we
person at
met
the
in
grocery
person,
store.
right? Like
I know,
there
I
are,
know.
and there are people
Yeah.
that I like, even just like like our daughters are friends at the school, and you sort of like,
Right.
we there was a lot of, a few months of just sort of head nods and waving, and then I sort of like approached them, was like, my daughter's birthday is coming up, like, do you want to come over for a play date? But it's almost like, it's that putting yourself out there, like it's
Yeah.
like a date or something, right? It's like,
Yeah.
would you guys be open
Yeah.
to like, exchanging numbers? And so like there's, definitely, and like there's probably people more outgoing than me that do it more often, but
You are
I
so
guess I don't know.
outgoing.
So
You
I
are.
don't
You're
know.
special. If Honestly, Chloe, if we hadn't met, I was just talking about you yesterday with, who was it? My parents or someone. And then this comes up for me all the time when I don't know if you remember this. It might not stick for you, but like there'd be nights in Ireland where you'd be like, let's go do something tonight. And it would be maybe drizzling, or I'd be comfy at home, or I'd be lazy or whatever. And I'd be like, I don't know. And 10 minutes later, you'd be outside my apartment and be like, get down here, we're
Yeah,
going.
let's go.
And if it wasn't for you, yeah, 100%. If it wasn't for you, I think there's a lot I wouldn't have done. So
Your
I think
parents
you
are
are
probably like, remember that
social.
bad influence on you?
My parents love
No.
you. No. Yeah, and like all the people I met through you, like your friends at Trinity and whatnot,
Mhm.
you're social. You're social. Oh man. Okay, so we've also heard like a bunch about how travel has impacted your life. And I don't want to say just travel because living somewhere is a completely different experience. Like, you know, we've even talked about your time in Belgium today as a trip, but it hasn't been a trip. It has been your
Hmm.
life for the last while. What are some ways that these places and experiences have impacted you and changed the trajectory of your life? And on the flip side of that, how do you think about like you being in another place and your impact on those people in those places?
Hmm. I know it's interesting. I think like I really like when you're away, I really identify as a Canadian. Like you don't really think about it in your day-to-day life, but then it's like when you're abroad, I think I'm like very proud to be Canadian, very like proud of where we come from.
Mm,
I think like people have an idea of, us being like respectful and polite and friendly. And I think like you sort of want to uphold that, like, to sort of like keep that reputation alive. And then I think you also like there's things when you're abroad that you think, okay, like I want to like bring this, back with me. Like I'm sort of even thinking about going home, we live just outside of Toronto in like the suburbs, and it's like we drive everywhere and like like we go through like
yeah.
a drive through to get coffee, and those are things like I just think like I always had like a big like like venti coffee in my head. I was always going from one place to another, and like you think here like no one does that. Like here I walk pretty much everywhere. Like
Right.
if you're like you would never see like you never see anybody just like walking around with a coffee in their hand like at school drop off, like no parents have coffees in their hand. Like they're all like if you're gonna have coffee you like go somewhere and you sit at a cafe and you enjoy it. Like it's sort of like
Mhm.
I think even though it's a big city it doesn't feel like so much hustle. Whereas I think
Yeah.
like when I go home I want to like make sure I'm still doing like walking places and like really
Yeah.
sort of slowing down and appreciating time with people. um I think yeah that's sort of something I don't want I don't want to change. And even I mean I think it's sort of one of those things of like when you're in a different country you want to do everything and see everything. Like I think my
Yeah.
daughter's gonna we're gonna get home and she's gonna be like, what are we doing this weekend? Because we do something every weekend here. Like
Oh my god.
we're
Yeah.
always
The amount of like trips you guys have taken has been so impressive. That's another reason why I want to have you back. Like you guys
yeah.
have gone so many places and done so many things this past year as a family of four. It's
I know,
incredible.
and it's I mean it's so easy. Like I mean we went to the Netherlands this weekend just because like it's only an hour. Like it's just like whereas like at home I feel like we were like it's like, what are we doing this weekend? I don't know, mowing the lawn and like, like going
Yeah.
grocery shopping. And like, I don't know, it just felt like we didn't do as much, but like there's so much to do and see in Canada. And I think like we want to like bring that
Yeah.
sort of like, I think it's because we knew our time was limited here that we like wanted to do and see
Mhm.
everything. Whereas like at home, you just sort of think you have all the time in the world. And then like, it's like sometimes you just
Right.
don't do all those things. So, even if it's just like small,
Yeah.
like, road trips, I feel like you have so many, you do this all the time. Like you have so many, I'm gonna have to like go to the archives of all your your blogs and everything because you have so many nice write-ups of like just like interesting little day trips like in Ontario that we
Mm.
just maybe like haven't got to. So we want to bring that, I think that home of like continuing to just do new things with our kids and not just sort of like kind
Yeah.
of be back to kind of like preparing for the week and like that sort of like just
Right.
being in like a million extracurriculars and like I don't know, you just sort of feel like you don't have the time to like I don't know, see
It's
new
like you're
things.
busy
Yeah.
instead of you're
Yeah,
living.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's like,
Yeah.
probably you know, some of it being in a new city, being in Europe, like, the way that they experience things, like there is just a lot more like, you know, walking and things close by. But I think it's also like just
Yep.
like when you're abroad or you're in a new place, you like you don't want to take that time for granted. So I think that sort of sense of, adventure, I think making
Yeah.
sure that we're bringing it home.
So cool. Man, I can't freaking wait for you to get home.
You're gonna have to call me out on it if I'm like not doing anything.
I will.
You're gonna get a little too comfortable.
I'll book your next plane
Yeah.
tickets for
Yeah.
you, Chloe. Yeah. What's a new skill that you have honed from your times abroad?
Hmm.
Or something that you didn't anticipate picking up as a skill, maybe either?
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like adapting to different languages here. It's sort of funny because like it's like I'll have like an English group and then I'll be dropping my daughter off in French and then like 10 minutes away is like you're in like a Dutch speaking, town. So I feel like that's like you're just always sort of like, especially here, you're always adapting to like, the way different kinds of, people, different languages. I think um being sort of, yeah, quick to adapt to new things, probably.
I feel like you're very good at that. Is there a type of travel that you haven't tried yet that you'd like to, either as a couple or as an individual or as a family?
You know what? We've never done an all inclusive. I never like you always see people that are, going to like
What kind of Canadian
I
are you if
know.
you haven't been
Like
to it?
it's like
Neither have
yeah,
I.
it's never been something I really like has interest. I've never been to the Caribbean. I've never like it's never really like I
Yep.
like you see pictures and you're like, okay, it's a beautiful beach. Like I've just
Right.
never really been on a sit on the beach kind of person. But then like with kids, it's sort of like it might be nice just to not have to worry about like where we're going for dinner, not have to worry about this.
Yeah.
Like I think, it's something there are some ones that are quite kid friendly and then also have like childcare in
Yep.
them that like, like we could go for dinner and like
Yeah.
we've sort of talked about like with some friends maybe doing something like that, but it's sort of something I've just like never really been interested in, but now I'm like I could kind of see the appeal of like less planning, but who knows? I don't know if we'll actually do it.
Definitely. It's a vacation versus a trip kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we've always been like trip
Yeah.
people. We've always been, like happy to sort of plan and to do all the making all the plans and all the all the accommodations and stuff. But yeah, I could see like especially if you have a week off work, like it's like I want
Yep.
to come back rested. So that's maybe something I don't think I'll ever get on a cruise, but I could see an all inclusive.
Yeah. That's cool. That makes so much sense with kids as well.
Yeah,
I totally get
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Although they do have some nice all
Um,
inclusives like in Europe and like Switzerland and stuff. Like maybe that's more my vibe.
oh, nice. I didn't even know that that was a thing
Yeah.
there, but I guess that would
Yeah,
make
they have like
sense.
cool, like all these cool outdoor like playgrounds and like, or those little like things you can go down the mountain, like things like that. I'm like, that could
Yeah.
probably
That's
be.
cool. That would definitely be, yeah, for sure. Awesome. Of all the places that you've been, what's the weirdest place you've slept in?
Weirdest place I've slept. I mean, definitely like lots of trains, planes, and automobile. I think I took a ferry once from Italy to Greece and like slept on like the ferry floor. Like I think outside me and Cara, like it was like, at the time where we were traveling very cheaply. It was actually I think part of the Euro pass where it's like you could pay extra for a room, but like we weren't gonna do that. So it
Oh,
was like
why would you do
it was
that?
like
Yeah.
very much like, just like on our backpacks, like sort of, I'm sure we didn't sleep much, but that's offhand
Yeah.
where I could think of was a sort of an odd place to sleep.
A ferry floor, that's definitely a
Yeah,
weird place
yeah.
to sleep, but makes sense given the trip. Yeah. Do you feel more at home in any of the places that you've lived or traveled to? Or, like, what is home to you at this point as well?
Yeah. I'd say like Belgium is like we feel most at home now. I think just because like
Yeah.
we're I mean not maybe not more than Canada, but I think like yeah, like how do you phrase it? Like the reverse cultures or reintegration. I think like there will be things that we're
Yeah.
sort of like, oh, this is different. Like, moving home. I think like day to day now, like,
Yeah.
if we were to extend our time here, like it just feels like, our like apartment here, we set everything up and like all the furniture is ours, like everything was feels very much like us now.
Um,
So that'll be I think like a little bit different to go back home just like I feel like yeah, Canada's changed a lot in a year, and like I think just sort
yeah.
of like yeah, I think like because you're here with a family, like it's just you sort of you're like the day to day is like because we're my daughter's in school and like it feels like we're really integrated into like the neighborhood. Um, that would be different. That would be kind of odd to leave, but yeah, Canada. I think
Yeah.
Canada will always be home.
Always be home. Yeah, yeah. I meant to ask you earlier, did you get to know your neighbors at all? Because I feel like,
Here?
I mean, yeah, because I don't know about you, but because you've lived in Toronto as
Mhm.
well as I have, and in Toronto, people in apartments don't meet each
No.
other. Like I remember moving to Toronto, and my sister was like, "We don't do that here," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
But now like you have a home in Toronto, and like you would know your neighbors there. Did you get to know your neighbors much at all in Belgium?
So we live in an apartment here, but it's most of the apartments here are like maximum 4 stories. So like our apartment is like 4 stories and only 2 apartments on each floor. So like 8 units. So you sort of see like like our neighbor, we know he's like, it's a family that they have like teenage kids, but he's sort of like our, like, if we need help, we we go to him. Like he's sort of like most of the people own their units here. So they all sort of know each other. And in our apartment here, we have a real fireplace. And one day it just started smoking. And so I ran over and was like, "Help! Like, can you tell me what I'm doing here?" Is because the people below us had a fire in there, and our thing wasn't shut, like our flue.
Oh, your
So,
flu?
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever it's called, like, he was so nice and like was just like he would come over and like he's like, "Do you want me to come check it?" And like, and so like we don't
Oh.
spend a lot of time with them, but I think like especially when you're abroad, like having like a few contacts that you like, people that if something were to happen, someone that you can go to. And so that's been nice. And there's this like really cute little older couple that lives on the first floor, and like the guy is always out. I mean, they're probably in like 80s or 90s, but the man is like always in a little
Oh.
like dress shirt gardening outside. And so like they only speak French, but we get like he's always like bonjour mademoiselle, like he's always like, or like he always like calls me like madame, and like the kids mademoiselle. So it's very cute.
Oh.
So they
Oh.
always try and like are like asking questions where the kids are going to school, or what are they doing and where are you going. So they're very sweet. They're
That's
like
cute.
always like out, they're like the neighborhood watch. Like they're always like, out on their balcony looking around, or like, sitting on like the little like out in front of the building. Like I feel like they know what's going on. Like if you ever had a questions about the
Yeah.
neighborhood, it'd be them.
They know
Yeah.
what's up. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Too
it's been
funny.
nice.
Okay. Changing tracks a little. What are one or two items that you always travel with, or that when you've moved abroad, you're like, I've got to have this?
Mm. I know. I feel like I'm not like that attached to that much. I mean, obviously you bring you know, your everyday items, your clothes, but I think this time like what was biggest is like we had certain things for our kids that we knew that like certain like blankets and stuffies and things that like felt like home for them.
Mhm.
I think that was sort of when you're packing like things that you bring in your carry-on, right? That you like don't want to go missing, because I think like what a big move it was for them, that those are pieces that like that you wouldn't want to lose, because it's like a few pieces of
Yeah.
there was things like that, like, and even ourselves, like a few like pictures, or things that we brought from home, just to like that we family pictures and things that we were able to put up in our apartment here, to feel a little bit like the kids are so young, like they didn't really understand at first
Yeah.
like what was happening. We lived in a hotel for a month, and then I would say to my daughter like, we're going home. She's like, which home? Like, like we're going back to Canada, like we're going to the
Oh,
hotel, like so we like now, like it's funny because here we got blue couches. And so she was like, the home with the blue couches. We're
yeah.
like, yeah, that is our home for now, like for the next year. Like that's where you're coming to. And so I mean now she obviously like got used to being here. But I think
Yeah.
those like just having like some pictures and some like some of those items that like kind of bridge the gap
Yeah.
between like, okay, wherever our
Yes.
family is, and these
Yeah.
little items that's home right now. So yeah.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's such a cute way of putting it too. I love that. The home with the blue couches. Oh, that could be a children's
Yeah,
book.
I
Chloe, you
know.
should write a children's book this year. The home with the blue couches.
Um,
Oh, I love
yeah.
it. Um, okay, so as a part of like a bonus for listeners, I'm putting together a travel playlist,
Mm.
which is compiled of people's songs that either represent the type of traveler that they are, or that reminds them of a trip or a time abroad. Do you have one that stands out?
Mm. I'm trying to think of what that song was that we used to. What was that song was that we went on the road trip? Thrift store. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, thrift store makes me think of you every time. I like.
And Cecilia makes me think of you, of course.
Oh, okay. Heads up for anybody who does karaoke with Chloe, because she may pick a song that you don't know and she'll have the time of your life, but you're standing up on stage without lyrics like I was. Oh my God, yeah, Cecilia, so true. I was wondering if you would mention as well, I don't know what the name of the artist is, something like Leaky Lie or something like that, or Likey Lee or something. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah, and she had that one song when we were in Dublin that came on in the clubs all the time, and for me, that's like a Dublin throwback every time. But Cecilia for sure,
and Mumford
thrift
and
shop
Sons
definitely.
was our time in
Mumford.
you know,
Oh my!
I think that's something
God.
I like.
Yeah.
You know, I always like. I don't know. That's something I'm one of my favorite bands of all time, I think. And like, yeah, we were able to see them in Dublin, and then it's funny now because
Most epic night.
I mostly listen to country music in Canada, and so I still do here, but it's not really part of the culture here.
Yeah. Oh, and there's another song too from your Bachelorette. I don't know if that would be one for you as well. But remember where Avery and then we were all doing that, like you, me, Avery, Heather, like all trying to learn the dance.
Me forced. I think I forced it upon everyone, but yeah.
Too funny. Okay, so we're gonna toss a bunch of songs in there for you now. Nice. Okay, we're gonna do a speed round. And this will wrap things up for us. So in a word or a sentence, we'll get you to answer these questions. Okay? All right. Where was your last trip?
The Netherlands.
Where's your next trip?
Home. Back to Canada.
What is your dream destination?
Well, Iceland. I'm going back to Iceland in September.
You are? No way. Oh, that's such a nice time to go. Oh, wait. Is that
for a wedding?
For a wedding? Yeah. Oh, give her a big hug for me. That's so cool. What a perfect place too. We'll get into that another time. Okay, lovely. Do you prefer to see many places or to get to know one really well?
To get to know one really well.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. Are you more of a bougie or a budget traveler?
Budget. Although my husband will probably roll his eyes about that now.
I love it. Guided tours or choose your own adventure?
Choose your own adventure.
Would you prefer to explore the ocean or outer space?
Ocean.
Cool. I could see that with you for sure. Favorite travel YouTuber, blogger, podcaster, whatever that you go to for your resources?
You.
No, you can't say that. I need to take this question now because it does sound like a thing. But you actually you've come up in 2 other podcasts. I don't know if you listened to the Guess Where Trips one at all, but we talked about you quite a bit because you had, you're very popular. Who was, when you were planning your trip to Copenhagen, was it? There was a mom Instagrammer that you were telling me about, and the woman from Guess Where Trips, Jessica Off, is like best friends.
Mini Jet Setter.
Yes. I didn't know if you'd end up saying that one. And then
she's good too.
Yeah,
she's from Toronto.
And then you also came up in Heather is on the podcast this season too, and so we talked about you lots on that one as well. I actually want to do a podcast episode with the two of you.
We wouldn't get anything accomplished. No information.
Lots of laughs though. It'll be a happy episode. All right, back to the speed round. Favorite mode of transportation?
Train.
Cool. Planned or spontaneous trips?
Planned.
Are you an underpacker or overpacker?
Overpacker.
I feel like that changes for people when they become parents.
Like
Yeah.
even we went away
Uh-huh.
for the day
Uh-huh.
on Sunday, and like it's like, why are we bringing so much? I'm like, we used it all. Like we had like
Yeah.
my daughter,
Yeah.
like we had to change her outfit, like they went through so many snacks. Like it's like you just have to bring a lot with kids.
Yeah.
It makes it easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Most overrated destination.
Mm, Rome.
Most underrated destination.
You listen?
Okay. What home comfort do you miss the most when you're away?
Man, I have to say Tim Hortons.
So funny because when Heather's Instagram story
Yeah,
came up from coming home, yeah, you saw it. It's like, way to be
yeah.
greeted by
I
Tim
don't know. Just
Hortons.
it's
Yeah.
not even good coffee. It just feels like home.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the best piece of travel advice you've received?
That I've received.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I think there's that quote like go one place a year that you've never been or something. Like I think always going to
Oh,
like just even like if it's not it doesn't have to be an international trip, but just like go on some
right.
adventure. I think is
Yeah,
um it's nice to like live by, even as I think about going home, like just make a point of trying to go somewhere, like even if it's a little road trip.
definitely. That's a great piece of advice. I love that. What's the worst piece of travel advice you've received?
um I mean, I guess it's not really travel advice, but like those like places you see on Instagram that like look beautiful in a
Uh,
picture and are actually like horrible if you go there. I think people only going to those big Instagram spots is probably like you're just not gonna have a good
yeah.
time like waiting in line for 2 hours to like take a picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can't be,
Ugh.
can't be worth it, I think.
No, definitely not. Would you okay, this will be interesting because again, things have changed now that you're a parent, but what's your preference between house sitting, couch surfing, hostels, Airbnbs, hotels?
I think probably Airbnbs would be. I think the idea of Airbnb anyways, like having a kitchen and having, some
Yeah.
bedrooms and stuff. I think Airbnb is getting a little, like the prices are close to hotels now, but
Oh my god,
and like
yeah.
the rules are getting a little out of hand. But so we do often stay
Yeah.
in like in mostly hotels now, but um in
Yeah.
theory, I think like Airbnb is the best one. I used to Airbnb my house way back in the day, and it was very like, this is what it is.
It's very cozy.
Like this is my stuff. My food's in the cupboard. Like it's like it was, what it was meant to be when it started out. But now, yeah, I feel like they're a little bit more, you know, too many rules.
Yeah. Yep, yep, and crazy
hmm
costs.
hmm
That's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah. Window seat or aisle seat?
Hmm. Uh, Depends. Window at night and aisle during the day.
Oh, yes, good call. Is that for sleeping, like window at
hmm
night? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Describe yourself as a traveler in 3 words.
hmm Um, I think adventurous,
Uh-huh.
um, appreciative, I think,
Mhm.
uh,
That's such a good one.
and just like just happy, like just happy to be in new places. I think, yeah.
Cool, cool. So apt. What are 3 characteristics that make a good travel partner,
Mm.
now that you have 3 of
Oh
them?
yeah. uh, well, I think that you're similar minded in what you want to do. I mean, our kids don't have much say in the matter, but I think like open to new experiences, kind of,
Yeah.
and flexible. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
with when
Have
you're
you
traveling with multiple people, not everyone gets to do what they want to do, right? So,
Yeah. Have you ever had this is not part of the speed round, but have you ever and I always digress somehow, but, have you ever had, like, a group or a partner travel experience where it's just been a disaster because people just aren't aligned in what they wanna do or how they travel or things like that?
um, not really. I would say I haven't traveled in a lot of big groups for that reason. I think it's hard. Like, I think that's
Mm,
like sort of as a choice, like, big girls trips where like people are just not on the same page, as
yeah,
people. Like, I mean, even came to my bachelorette party, right? Like I think, or like giving people the freedom to like separate and do things, right? Like, it's like, if you want to like
right.
if you want to go here, if you want to do like a historical tour, if you want to go like day drinking, if you want to sleep in, like, everyone do
Yeah.
what they want, but like, we're not gonna, like,
Yeah.
try and get everyone on the same page, because then no one's gonna be doing what they want, right? So I think a lot of my trips have been, I mean, now with family, but previously were like one or two people where
Yeah.
that you're sort of like minded and like.
Right. Although I will say that trip we went on for your graduation when we went back to Dublin, that was such a fun
Mhm.
trip. We went with your parents, and then there was what, 3 or 4 of us
Mhm.
friends plus you?
Yeah,
And
three
I didn't
friends and
really
yeah, and then me. Yeah. So
yeah.
six total, huh?
Yeah, and I didn't really know your friends, and I kinda knew your parents at that
Yeah.
point, and that was such a that
Exactly.
was a
That was a
fun
great trip.
trip. That
Yeah.
was
So
a
I think people
great
that are
trip.
like just
Yeah.
happy to, there's like the planners, like, I think what was more us in that trip, and then like people that are happy to go with the flow, right?
Yep.
And like it's
Yep.
okay to have different
Yep.
personalities, as long as like, no
Yeah.
one's trying to force, anything, something that other people don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to do. Yeah.
So true. Yeah. What's the best part of travel for you?
I think just seeing how other people live, yeah,
Mm,
gives you an appreciation for, you know, where we come from, and just for the world.
yeah. And the worst part of travel?
Mm, I mean, it's expensive. and,
Yeah.
and I don't know, like, I mean, just delays, things that don't go to plan. I think is, difficult, I guess.
Yep. What's the best travel app for you that you go to?
Hmm. I don't know that I really use that many. I think, like, yeah, I would say that I don't use a lot of travel apps other than like obviously Google Maps.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What about a favorite travel book or movie? And I wanna say that, like, it doesn't have to do with travel, it could just be set in another place as
Mm.
well.
I don't know, the first thing that came to my mind was like Eat, Pray, Love. I think that was like, it was such. I mean, it's such like a I don't know, just like a woman, like, doing her own thing. I think that was like, I remember at the time thinking like, oh, you could just move to Italy, like, it was that like dolce far niente, like,
Right.
just like, like she goes and really like starts
Yeah.
appreciating things. I think, um, I'm sure there's a million others. I mean, now there's so many, like, on Netflix. There's so many interesting like documentaries on
Right.
food, or like, you sort of get a
Mhm.
snapshot of the. I think that's nice. Like, it gives you a snapshot of the culture. That's not just like a single post. It's like like a little bit more
Right.
more in depth. So I would say probably, I haven't
Yeah.
watched a million things on Netflix, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And best gift for a traveler?
Mm, hmm. I mean, I've always liked the, like, just having a notebook, a notebook to travel with. I
Mm.
think, like, or I mean, even giving recommendations in a notebook, like, um,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I'm not really much of like a journal writer, but like, having some history of like, okay, I went this place on this,
Mhm.
on this day, or like, here's where we stayed. I always like have often, you know, taken notes in that way. Like, if
Yeah.
people,
Document.
ask you about it years later, you sort of can pull it out and, have those memories, and then like the making scrapbooks out of them.
Yeah, so true. Well, you made it through the speed
Woo.
round. Good job.
I don't know if I was speedy enough.
You were great. I took us off track more than you
Okay.
did. No, that was awesome. Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on the
happy to.
podcast. I was so looking forward to this because it meant that we got to chat and catch up. But I think that people will take a lot from your different experiences abroad over your life and moving abroad as a family, and that you can do it, and that, so much is possible if you're interested in making it happen. And yeah, thank you very much for coming on. I
Happy to.
appreciate you. I love you. I miss you.
Well, that you.
And we'll see you
Yes, I know.
soon.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to leave people with? Any thoughts or any tips or anything like that?
No, I think just, take the chance to go if if you can. I think make a point to see cultures that are different than your own. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. Well, have a great day. Hugs to your family
Thank
over
you.
there and enjoy
Mhm.
Europe.